Prophet Drew Ali speaks to the nations. If you have race pride and love your race, join the Moorish Science Temple of America and become part of this divine movement. Then you will have power to redeem your race because you will know who you are and who your forefathers were. Because where there is unity, there is strength. Together we stand, divided we fall. Come, good people, because I, the prophet, sent to redeem this nation from mental slavery, which you have now, need every one of you who think that your condition can be better. This is a field open to strong men and women to uplift the nation and to take your place in the affairs of men. If Europeans and other nations are helping me, why not you? It is your problem. The Negro problem is being solved only as it can, and that is by the Moorish divine and national movement. If you have a nation, you must have a free national name in order to be recognized by this nation as an American citizen. This is what was meant when it said, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things will be added unto you by the prophet. Yes. All right. That's called the tone setter right there. Set the tone before we move on.
Islam. I like that. It's not as long as the divine the the warning.
Divine warning for the nations. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as long and it still kind of hits you, it sets the tone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You still kind of get it, still sets the tone. I want to get that. Where is this? Do you have a I mean, where did you get this this
I can send everybody this
part of that? Yeah.
PDF, but it's basically draw. It's in the PDF called Drew Ali's Literature. I'm not, you know, okay. I got a bunch of this stuff compiled on my computer.
Yeah. What is this part right here? Is this it? What is this? What you just read? Part
this is I read
number two.
Part two. Yeah, number two.
Okay.
He got and like 50 oral statements. You know.
Okay. So when you scroll down, okay, those are other statements. This is just
so that's number two. So this number one will be like the prophet has spoken, and it goes.
Oh, okay.
I might be wrong, brother, but didn't Noble Drew Ali put that quote in like a newspaper when he first established?
There's a couple elements in here. Yeah, that was. Yep.
I think yeah. I've seen that before.
More guideposts. Yep. All right. Let me transition to the next slide. Whoever doesn't know who that man is, that's Noble Drew Ali. And just in case nobody knew. Prophet and founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America to redeem the people from their sinful ways. Little backstory. Noble Drew Ali, January 8th, 1886 through July 20th, 1929, was an American or Al-Moroccan who founded the Moorish Science Temple of America. In 1913, he founded the Canaanite Temple in Newark, New Jersey, before relocating to Chicago, where he gained a following of thousands of people. Following the murder of a rival Moorish Science Temple leader, Drew Ali was arrested, but never charged, and sent to jail. He died in 1929, shortly after being released. Several details of Drew Ali's early life are uncertain, as true information became mixed with that of legend by his devout followers. He is believed to have been born Timothy Drew on January 8, 1886, in North Carolina. Spouses Pearl Drew Ali and Mary Drew Ali. Drew Ali reported that during his travels in Egypt, he met a high priest of Egyptian magic. In one version of Drew Ali's biography, the leader saw him as a reincarnation of the founder. In others, he claims that the priest considered him a reincarnation of Jesus, the Buddha, Muhammad, and other prophets. According to the biography, the high priest trained Ali in mysticism and gave him a lost section of the Quran. And this text came to be known as the Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, and then the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. It is also known as the Circle 7 Quran because of its cover, which features a red 7 surrounded by a blue circle. Of course, now it's different versions of the cover, but that's the original cover. One of the most famous pictures of this was actually at a convention, a national convention that lasts from the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th through the 20th, 1928. In early 1929, following a conflict over funds, Claude Green Bay, the business manager of Chicago Temple No. 1, split from the Moorish Science Temple of America. He declared himself Grand Sheik and took a number of members with him. On March 15th, Green Bay was stabbed to death at the Unity Hall of the Moorish Science Temple of Indiana on Indiana Avenue in Chicago. This is actually this is the Indiana spot. Yeah, this is Chicago, and mind you, he had 10,000 Moors in Chicago. This picture don't show 10,000. That's because the FBI, CIA don't want you seeing pictures of what he was doing. They want this big mystique. Even though there's a lot of people in the pictures, but just know there's not even half. So think about the work this man was doing. Uniting the people on national principles. Drew Ali was out of town at the time as he was dealing with former Supreme Grand Governor Lamax Bey, Professor Izzeldin Muhammad, who had supported Green Bay's attempt coup. And whoever doesn't know what a coup is, that's like an attempt to overthrow an established government with a feudal government that looks similar to the original government, but behind the scenes, it changed. When Drew Ali returned to Chicago, the police arrested him and other members of the community on suspicion of having initiated the killing. No indictment was sworn for Drew Ali at that time. This is a picture of Noble Drew Ali's funeral. That was also in the paper the brother was talking about earlier. Shortly after his release by the police, Drew Ali died at the age of 43 at his home in Chicago on July 20th, 1929. Although the exact circumstances of his death are unknown, the certificate of death stated that Noble Drew Ali died from tuberculosis, bronchitis. I can never pronounce that word.
Pneumonia.
What is that?
Pneumonia.
Pneumonia, there we go. I want to say phenomia. Despite the official report, many of his followers speculated that his death was caused by injuries from the police or from other members of the faith. Others thought it was due to
pneumonia.
One more told the Chicago Defender that the prophet was not ill. His work was done, and he laid his head upon the lap of one of his followers and passed out. His funeral place on July 25th, 1929, with hundreds attending. The services were held at the Python Temple in Chicago, followed by the burial at Burr Oak Cemetery, nearby Alsip. You see his headstone. The death of Drew Ali brought out a number of candidates who vied to succeed him. Edward Mealy L. stated that he had been declared Drew Ali's successor by Drew Ali himself, while John Gibbons L., Drew Ali's chauffeur, declared that he was Drew Ali reincarnated. However, the governors of the Moorish Science Temple of America declared that Charles Kirkland Bey to be the successor, Noble Drew Ali, and named him Grand Advisor. And just a little backstory. When you look at a document called the I forgot right there. It's on the back of the Quran. I got a brain fart right now, but it's a document where he incorporated the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, and it became the Moorish Science Temple of America. And in that, he states who his successors will be, and Amili Il was his successor. The Kirkland Bay guy that is being referred to, Charles Kirkland Bay, took Noble Ali and his successor to court, saying that I should be the successor. I'm trying to colonist court at that, the municipal court, and he still lost because the magistrate said in the bylaws it's already declared that Amili El will be Noble Ali's successor. Just a little backstory.
Okay.
Moore's guy, the newspaper brother was talking about this. So this Amili El right here. It's a picture of him. Right, a newspaper. As you can see, Brother Amili El, Grand Governor, will preside over all Moorish activities in Chicago during the Prophet's itinerary to all temples in America. But this was actually in the paper.
So how did he die?
I don't really go into that.
They don't go into it too much. Yeah.
I haven't heard anything about how Amili El died. Never heard no backstory on that. So Wallace Farad Muhammad, a founder of Nation of Islam, was previously a prominent member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, where he was known as David Ford El. Now, in the Nation of Islam, if you ever go in those circles, they'll call him the Prophet. Those members are called, they call him Master Farad Muhammad in those circles, and he's referred to as the Prophet. But prior to the existence of the Moorish, Nation of Islam, he was a Sheikh in the Moorish Science Temple, and he was an El. He knew about nationality. After Drew Ali's death, he claimed to be the Prophet reincarnated. When his leadership was largely rejected, he broke away from the Moorish Science Temple, moved to Detroit, and founded the Nation of Islam. Nation of Islam leaders denied any historical connection to the Moorish Science Temple of America until February 26, 2014. That's a long time after him. When Louis Farrakhan acknowledged Noble Ali's contribution to the Nation of Islam, competing factions developed among the congregations and leaders, especially after the death of the charismatic Ali. 3 independent organizations developed from his ferment. The founding of the Nation of Islam by Wallace Farad Muhammad in 1930 also created competition for members. In the 1930s, membership was estimated at 30,000, with one third in Chicago. During the post-war years, the Moorish Science Temple of America continued to increase its membership, albeit at a lower rate. Obviously after the transition of the Prophet. In 1986, the Moroccan ambassador to the United States officially recognized Moorish Science Temple's Islamic linkage to Morocco through Drew Ali. If I'm not familiar with that, it was at a hotel out here, and we know you got the Kingdom of Morocco, the Middle Eastern people, right? Their king and their ambassador came out here, and I wish I could bring that document about. It's on my Instagram. I'm gonna post it on my story actually, so it can be in the front so y'all can see it. But or I'll put it in the chat or something. But that king is basically saying, yeah, we're the same. This is the empire essentially, but none of that matters unless the Black Negro colors figure that out and work together. We can't. Of course, we share historical connections, but today it don't matter if the people won't wake up, right?
So I didn't know that. Yeah. You said it's an article?
What year was that?
1986.
In 1986?
Wow.
Yep.
I'll send that to everybody.
Okay. Well, that was in our time. Sure, that was like just years ago. That was right before you were born.
So question, what do you think that it was Farad Muhammad? Do you think that, I guess this is just me speculating, but I wonder what was going through that man's mind he got rejected by the Moorish Science Temple as chosen leader. and he was so mad to the point to where he moved away and disconnected himself and the honors and paying homage to Noble Drew Ali, or because in the Nation of Islam, they for Master Farah Muhammad is actually looked at as God in person, and
Mm-hmm.
the prophet is Elijah Muhammad, which I believe was formerly Elijah Poole Bey.
But okay,
when
so
he Morris Science Temple.
not to cut you off, but I'm not. So my dad, right? He was like a high ranking member in the nation, but at that time you had Farrakhan. It was like three different factions of Nation of Islam, and Silas Muhammad was the head of the one my dad was under, and under that paradigm, they said he was the messenger. Nobody, I mean, the messenger was Elijah Muhammad. They called him the messenger, right? And then they called Farah Muhammad the prophet. So I never went to a Farrakhan mosque, or you know what I mean, or I'm not sure, you know what I mean, but maybe it's like slightly differences. But I actually grew up in the Nation of Islam, like from like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I was, junior FOI the whole nine, and that's how they was pushing, you know. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to say that. But go ahead, but I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just speculating because I remember years ago I was gonna join the FOI, and I had signed up to do the class, the studies and whatnot. But I just had more questions, just more and more questions. I just always keep asking questions, keep asking questions, keep asking questions.
Mhm.
But I remember seeing uh this is probably around the time I found out about the Moorish Science Temple of America and our lineage and connection and true title of being Moors. And like I think I told you this when I first met you, the picture is gone, but it used to be a picture on Google to where you would see Elijah Muhammad and the starting or the founding members of the nation all wearing fezzes.
Hmm.
And that was one of my main questions is, what happened to the fezzes? Why the fez disappeared? So I guess, I'm speculating. I'm kind of just playing it back in my head, like what was going on through this brother's mind to disappear and this and he kept the principles of the nation, because the way that some of the brothers explained it to me is that I guess Fardar Muhammad went from door to door knocking on doors in the so-called Black community and telling brothers and sisters that, hey, did you know that you are the chosen people, you are God, and I'm the chosen one here to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they relay the information. So like just speculating, I'm just kind of wondering, like, because I've seen a brother do, if you pull the picture back up of when they congregated, Noble Drew Ali and everyone, when they congregated, there's a picture you pulled up, and there was a brother that was doing some
This one,
that picture right there. You see that brother that's if you could put your mouse to the right of Noble Drew Ali.
that's Elijah Poole Bay right there. Who are you talking about? Right here?
No, right there. Stop. That brother right there with that brother right there. No, not that, not to the left, to the right, in the middle.
Right here? Right here?
Nah, right to the right of him, in
Right
the
here?
middle. No, in the middle of those two brothers, you was just had the mouse on.
Mm-hmm.
You see that brother with the bow tie?
Oh, right here?
No. Go back to the right.
The bow tie.
Oh, I
All
see
the way
him right there. I
to
see
right in the
him.
middle of the two brothers. You was just
Yeah,
had your
he's
mouse on.
behind.
Yeah, right
Right,
there, right.
right. Okay,
Yeah,
now go back
Oh, right
behind.
here.
Right there.
that
Yeah,
brother.
he has a bow tie on,
There was a brother named Dr. Ali Muhammad. Y'all
and he
probably
has
know
a
him.
fez. Yeah.
He was saying that through his research and studies, that's the true image, or that's who Farah Muhammad was. That's him. That was him right there.
Yeah. Hmm.
I don't know if you seen Dr. Ali Muhammad's Instagram page, God Body, but he actually did a whole book on Farah Muhammad and the relation of the Nation of Islam and then the Moorish Science Temple. just recently this year, or no, last year. I want to say at the end of last year,
Mhm.
or maybe the beginning of this year. But he was saying that's who Farah Muhammad is, because the picture that we see through the Nation of Islam it's a speculative picture,
Right.
because they say they don't know what he looked like. There's
Right.
no true look of
Mm.
true picture of what he looked like. So they just
Mhm.
constructed something to what they thought he looked like.
Right.
Mm.
But through the FBI documentations, through the Freedom of Information Act, when that was passed, that allows us to see information after their cases are closed. He was saying that like if like he did a whole YouTube and everything on it too, like showing the paperwork and everything, but it'll actually show you that through their research, nobody knew what, like, this brother was moving from state to state, country to country, changing his name, changing his appearance. This is before he actually got into the divine movement. He kind of had like that background, kind of like Malcolm. If you follow that, I don't know if you've heard of any of that or if you've seen any of that, but through like the document, like the FBI documentations, I guess when they were speaking to his wife or somebody in his family or something like that, it was a lot of confusion as to who he was or where he was from. They couldn't pinpoint it. They didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a lot of mysterious, and like you say, you know, the FBI, CIA didn't want you to have a flat, true story of how everything went down. They
Mhm.
wanted to be scrambled. You know what I'm saying? So you arguing and debating with people, but the fact still, even with all the scrambled info, he was a sheik in Detroit at a subordinate temple to Chicago, and he was an L. And you know, he stopped talking about nationality. Um, and this guy right here, Elijah Poole Bay, right here in the back, you know, same thing. You know, he took off the Bay. You know, added Muhammad.
Oh, that's Elijah Muhammad back
That's
here in the back?
Elijah Muhammad.
In the
Right
back,
here.
right? But behind him, okay, all the way to the back. That's him?
Yeah, it's Elijah Poole Bay at this time.
Can you zoom in on that?
Wow.
Let's see.
Wow, that's Elijah Muhammad. And if that's Elijah Muhammad, then oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Let me back up a little.
Oh, that is the brother.
Ah,
Yep.
okay, that's Elijah Muhammad. And then to the right, the guy, the one that you were saying, Master for Harab, who's Ward Wallace. Yeah. So I thought Wallace
No,
taught Elijah Muhammad, right?
Master Farah Muhammad taught Elijah.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, yeah. Well, that's
Yes, but they're here
in the Nation of
together.
Islam.
So how does that? Oh, I'm confused.
That's just the story in the Nation of Islam. Like,
Mm.
you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But all that's, like I say, I can get into that. I ain't trying to.
Yeah.
But you see what I'm saying? You know, they both was
That's
bays and nails.
that's a whole lot of miscommunication. They got us all messed up. Well, that it looks like the infiltration came right then after they assassinated Noble Drew Ali. Then his successor, Mr. L, with Kimmel L. That's the question I was asking you.
Oh,
When
Amelia,
did he die? When did he? What was that?
Amelia, yeah, like I said, I
Yeah.
haven't heard any.
When did
You
he
know,
die?
I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Because when he took over, basically the Moorish Science Temple, so he basically was the successor, and then that's
what
when everybody
it
started
split.
breaking off.
Yeah,
It split.
you had the Amelia L. Moors, you had the Kirkland Bay Moors, and it just
Right.
everything split up to these
Mm-hmm.
factions now. It wasn't just one body no more. The schism, the different versions, right? But that's the confusion that the FBI wanted. That's the whole point.
And that's confusing. It's totally confusing. I see how they infiltrated. So we don't know. So you don't really know.
Yep.
Sorry.
Conquer and divide.
Mm-hmm. So we don't know who, if it was Wallace, if Farrar Muhammad was infiltrated, was it Elijah Muhammad that was infiltrated? You know, we know Farrakhan infiltrated. That's a fact. But you can see his results. But Farrar, but where the infiltration started, I believe it's between those two because when they saw how he got assassinated, they probably got scared, and didn't know what to do and just decided, well, I'm just gonna go on and we're gonna bow down, but we still gonna teach some of the truth, but we'll teach as much of it as we can or as much as they allow us so that they won't come in and try to, do the same thing.
Right.
You know
Right.
what? I was looking at the year that I wrote down the year Noble Drew Ali was 43 when he died. That's a 7. And then his funeral was on the 25th, and that's also a 7. I thought that was kind of interesting.
His funeral's on the 25th.
Well, if something you read back there, it was either his funeral was on the 25th or he died on the 25th, one of those, but it was very significant to everything.
Hold on. I want to make sure because that's not, he died in 29.
Okay.
So July 25th. Oh yeah, the month. It was July 25th.
Funeral.
Yeah.
The funeral was July
7.
25th.
Yeah,
And then, but he died he was 43.
Right. Yeah.
And that was a 7. Mm-hmm.
So, quick question: 1935. I read about it. I think it was. So, was it Farrakhan or was it Elijah who banned the fez?
Good question.
Elijah, because
It was Elijah.
Yeah, so and keep in mind the timeline. Noble Drew Ali assassinated in 1929, the creation of the Nation of Islam 1930. And from 1930, that's when they were still wearing fezzes. 1931, still wearing fezzes. 1932, no fezzes.
So it was Elijah Muhammad.
Elijah Muhammad. Farrakhan wasn't around yet.
Infiltrated.
Okay, so Muhammad, exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was when Elijah Muhammad after 1932. Okay.
Well, I agree with. I think if we logically speaking, I think it sounds like those brothers did kind of get like when that brother got assassinated. Everybody stepped back and was like, "Oh." But anything you devote your life to, it's kind of hard to just put that down. So I agree. They probably were like, we still want to be a service to our people and community some way. But we can't. They probably was like, we can't give them all of everything, but we can teach it in certain lengths and certain levels, right? Because I think the FOI, you don't even get the teachings, the true teachings of Elijah Muhammad's and Master Farah Muhammad's until you enter into the FOI. That's the difference in between the the nation and the 5 percenters, right? Because the 5 percenters believe they're upright as far as they're the poor righteous teachers of the planet. So they teach to the deaf, dumb, and blind. But the FOI, you actually have to get your X first in order to receive the teachings.
Yeah, they do like a little adept chamber, and like their higher ups is they're familiar with this info, but they run it like the lodge essentially. It's like they got the adept chamber, then they got their everyday members or whatnot. But the Nation of Gods on Earth for the 5 percenters, when you look at that book, the Nation of Gods on Earth, and you go to section C of that book, they're going to tell you where the 5 percenters got their info from. They tell you in that book to say Noble Drew Ali was responsible for what we're doing essentially. Like go read that book, go to section C of the Nation of Gods on Earth. You know what I'm saying? So
I haven't got my hands on that book. I need that book.
What is that, Mafia? Nation of Gods on Earth?
Nation of Gods on Earth. That's like the Quran for the 5 percenters. It's like they grounded book. And they tell you they got Noble Drew Ali was all roads lead to Noble Drew Ali. Any quote unquote black movement. Matter of fact, you're gonna see all these movements start popping up in 1930. All type of stuff start popping up after the assassination of Noble Drew Ali. So
Nas said that in one of his songs the other day.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, it's a song called "My Niggas" by Nas, and And one of the verses, she's like, the problem is we all started thinking like the colonists until Noble Drew Ali came and started dropping all that consciousness.
Right, I heard that.
Wow.
That's a famous one, actually.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that those bars is in a lot of more circles. I heard that, and I didn't even know it was Nas.
No.
That's crazy. All right, so I'm gonna continue a little bit more. All right, so yeah, so the Kingdom of Morocco ambassador came 1986, and I'll send that document to everybody as well. So during 1940s now, the Moorish Science Temple, specifically the Kirkland Bay faction, came to the attention of the FBI, who investigated claims of members committing subversive activities by adhering to and spreading of Japanese propaganda. The investigation failed to find any substantial evidence, and the investigations were dropped. The federal agency later investigated the organization in 1953 for violation of the Selective Service Act of 1948 and sedition. In September 1953, the Department of Justice determined that prosecution was not warranted for the alleged violations. The file that the FBI created on the temple grew to 3,117 pages during his lifetime. They never found any evidence of any connection or much sympathy of the temple's members of Japan. So it was members from Japan in the temple when Noble Drew Ali was alive. He was, he had ambassadors from different nations that were part of the organization: Japanese, Korean, Russian, highly wealthy people that were supporting what he was doing as well. And then, whenever you got international support, that's why they killed Al Haj. If y'all watch Godfather of Harlem, it's based on Bumpy Johnson, but it's elements that touch on, Al Haj. And
just watched that last night.
You see how they on his head? They told so Bumpy Johnson getting the cocaine from the CIA. The CIA tell him, man, you can have all the dope you want, man, because at this time that was after what's our boy in Cuba, Fidel Castro.
Fidel Castro.
That time they was trying to get him. They was trying to kill him. The CIA, and they was sending the Italian mob to go hit him. Different little gangs in America to go down there and go try to attempt to kill him, like hire guns. And they told him, he was like, man, you can get all the dope you want if you do one thing for me. Bumpy Johnson was like, what? What you want me to do? Let me know why Malcolm X is going into Africa. What are you talking about out there? What are you trying to do? They was willing to get his man all the cocaine he wanted. That's all they wanted to know, because that was the end of them. If El Haj was successful in his plan, it was over. It was over for them. So but the reason I'm going into that is, like I say, when you got international help, they can't just close things in like a domestic thing. Like if you,
So basically, Noble Drew Ali established our connections to foreign other entities, but then but they don't really highlight that, but just a little bit. And then they really got into it when Malcolm X started, going outside of the United States and connecting, and that became
because what happened was, so he had a similar story to Noble Drew Ali to a degree, and that's why both of them are named El Haj, and they have El Haj in their name. So Malcolm X, his tombstone said El Haj Malik Shabazz, and then Noble Drew Ali's official title is Sheikh El Haj. Dang, I'm a little tired, but he was El Haj basically because he took the Hajj and got real information from the East about the real account of the Western part of the world being the empire, and how y'all Moors and how all these little black groups and CIA operatives to slow the momentum down. He came, El Haj, Malcolm X came back, broke away from the Nation of Islam. This is the 60s now. And basically blew the whistle. And then once the Muslims out there in Mecca told him, like, look, man, that's the empire. And then he found out information about the Moorish Science Temple. I'm talking about Malcolm X. He found out information that, like we're talking about right now. That's what he found out back then, that the Moorish Science Temple their heads of the Nation of Islam came from the Moorish Science Temple. So he was going to come back. That's why he started talking about, even though they say black nationalist, Malcolm X, when he came back separated, now he's a black nationalist. That's kind of misleading, but he was on nationality. He was leaning towards nationality. There wasn't no black nationalist. So the road he was going, it was like, nah, he had too much influence to come back talking like that. Like, you know, he's gonna do stuff the right way. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to throw that out there because a lot of that intel is not really, it's like smoothed over. I felt like when it comes to Malcolm X, they just stick to he came back and called, you know, him a pedophile. That's why they was beefing. That's why he left, just because Elijah Muhammad was playing with little girls. But it was deeper than that. You know, he came with a lot more information to expose. You know what I'm saying?
Playing with little girls.
Yeah, they was trying to say Elijah Muhammad had a couple of secretaries that were underage that he got pregnant.
I mean, I seen the interview, but I didn't know they was little girls.
Yeah, they was underage. You know, they wasn't 18 or whatnot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking on who now let's go back to Noble Drew Ali, why he got his El Hajj, right? He met with this brother, Sultan, and if he's a sultan, that means it's an empire, right? Existed. Sultan, and a matter of fact, when you open a Circle 7, he's in the back page when you open it up. Sultan Abdul Aziz Ibn Suwad.
Oh.
All right. And known in the West as Ibn Suwad, was the first monarch and founder of Saudi Arabia, the third Saudi state. He was ruler of the whole kingdom of Saudi Arabia from September 23rd, 1932 to November 9th, 1953. But started to be ruler in parts of it as early as 1902. He reconquered his family's ancestral home, city of Riyadh, in 1902, starting 3 decades of conquest that made him the ruler of nearly all the Central and North Arabia, including Mecca and Medina. He consolidated his control over Najd in 1922, then conquered Hijaz in 1925. He extended his dominions into what later became the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in 1932. As king, he presided over the discovery of petroleum in Saudi Arabia in 1938 and the beginning of the large-scale oil production after World War II. He fathered many children, including 45 sons. This man had 45 sons. And all the subsequent kings of Saudi Arabia. I actually stop right there. And like I say, this is who Noble Drew Ali. So he wasn't Noble Drew Ali. Actually, he was still Timothy Drew, the Egyptian adept. Then came back, anointed, right? He got anointed by a sultan to be the prophet out here and wake the people up.
So when you say, okay, now what wasn't there some history about Saudi Arabia not really being, that's not the name of Saudi Arabia? Is it, that's I heard some teachings on that. I thought you had mentioned that Saudi Arabia is just it's the newest name that they named that territory, but it wasn't Saudi. It's not really Saudi. And Mecca, Saudi Arabia and Mecca, those are not the original.
I'm not sure exactly where. I
don't
think
have
I'm
to dig
talking
it
about Turkey, Israel, Jordan, Egypt, Israel. All these places got created in 1940s, 1950s.
Yeah.
But biblically, those are ancient names, but they're not the same thing. But I know when you say Saudi, you're talking about the House of Saudi, which was a family of Moors. The
okay.
Saudi family, you know. But yeah, whenever you hear the House of whatever,
yes,
you're just saying the family of Saudi, or the Saudi family.
So this sultan was basically the king during that time for all these years, from 32 to for over 25 years, it looks like. he ruled and had 45 kids, but at the same time, so Noble Drew Ali, what got in contact with him, sought out this sultan, and they communicated, and he traveled over to go and be introduced. That's kind of like how the connection was. They opened arms and said, "Come on and let us talk, and we understand that you are now enlightened and you know who you are, and you're teaching the people right. You're teaching your people." Is that kind of like what that was more or less?
Yeah, yeah,
The meeting was for?
just like when quote unquote Malcolm X went out there on the same thing. Like even before he got woke, he had enough notoriety where the world knew about him. You know, he went over there and people knew who he was. Like, oh, Malcolm X. Yeah, you know, he was a quote unquote black leader. Like,
So if we were to, well, so that's been like almost 20 years ago, 25, no, almost since 1932 when that happened. Okay, so but what I'm trying to lead up to is if that was if Saudi Arabia and their the Saudi families recognize who we are, and they have recognized who we were at one point through Noble Drew Ali. So if we were to stand up now and have a leader to recognize to basically represent us here to go, and we would still have ties with them like that, the same way Noble Drew Ali did? Or do
yeah,
you think they
yeah.
would they receive us?
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I would say it'd be probably based on leadership. Leadership changes.
yeah.
Right.
Some people don't. They don't like that.
They're
One
not
thing I realized is that not just in North America, but colonizers have possibly trained other people to colonize different parts of the world too. Everywhere else in the world is pale people on top.
Mhm.
We on the bottom everywhere.
yeah,
So it's probably not too many people that want to see us on top.
yeah.
And I was just gonna say that too. At this time, because after World War II, a lot of pseudo governments. So World War One was about dividing up what most people think is Africa. You know, chopping it up where French, British, Dutch are running things over there. World War II was breaking up the area that was still the empire and breaking it up to what they call the Middle East. And now you got all these pseudo, like I say, Turkey. They were, like I say, Moors were Turks, but Turkey is new. There was no Turkey back in the day. It was Turks, but Turkey was not. That's like 1950 something, right? Like I say, Israel. That's why you got Palestine and the original people of Palestine beefing. Well, I ain't gonna say the original people of Palestine, but them is hybrids too. But they said we from here. We're connected to the original people, and y'all flat out foreigners. Talking about the people that think they're Israeli, and that's why it's a little clash right there.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, no, he right. Today, everybody is more compromised than they were back then, as far as the abroad,
Mm-hmm.
But they are, but at the same time, there's revolutions going on. There's actually republics that the people are running the show. People of that land, they're not. There's no foreigners that got tentacles in their back. But most of the world, yeah, they've been compromised. I would say that's safe to say.
Yeah, so it's gonna take a mass awakening for us to show that we have waken up, and it's not, and it's not just a few of us, but it's gonna take for the world to be able to see us.
Right.
It's gonna take a mass awakening.
But
Mm.
like the reason I say I don't think it's as bad, even though that's true. But when I see people that come over here that are sort of the new life, and they see fezzes and turbans in public, they all given high honors, high respect.
Mm.
So that's why I'm kind of like people know, you just got to do what we do and make it happen, man. Because there's a lot of people that respect that fez and that turban. It's just if the people just at large, and it how is 8.5 billion blacks? They need to be. Them people need to know their Moors. That's what needs to happen. You know what I'm saying? You know.
Yeah.
I got a question,
Mhm.
if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
In regards to North America, well, actually all the Americas and the islands. Um, and I guess I need further clarification as part of to my study. Because in one hand, more relates to, well, in dictionaries, it relates to Negroes, blacks, colors. But in the Metu Neter, it relates as the most ancient form that Moors are were high priests. Another definition of Moor were those who moored a boat or navigated the boat, because we were navigators. We were navigators through knowing astrology, through the stars and the skies.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I was doing some research recently, and I think some of y'all probably follow him on Instagram, the brother Curry Mayo, I think his name is. In relation to us coming from the ancient Indian tribes in the Americas. Why is there any speculation as to why the prophet didn't take it all the way back into those times for us as well,
Well,
to
he did.
connect us, or why do we just stop at Moorish American rather than tie us to um, the indigenous tribes on the land that would actually tie us into indigenous law, is what I'm saying.
Well, he did. It's just he did it not so bluntly because at that time, like, see, we're in the age that it's youngsters that know we indigenous. Back then, everybody thought we was from Africa. It's just like the last, I say, 5 years, it's been a movement where we knowing that nah, we've been here, like, and it's like
Yeah.
we press it. We proud of that. But that's new. I honestly, when I was in high school, everybody thought I'm from Africa. Unless you have parents that, you know, for sure came from a tribe and they was pressing, letting their family know, like, nah, we from here. They might call themselves Indian or whatever. They might not know they were Moors, but they knew they was from here, right? So when you study all his literature, he says enforce the Constitution, right? In the Holy Quran, it talks about how we're connected to, how North, Central, and South Americans, the Chileans, the Guatemalans, the Mexicans, these are all Moors, right? So it's in the holy books, as well as he says when I say enforce the Constitution. When you look in the Constitution, go to Article 6. It talks about treaties of the supreme law of the land. And we have treaties, multiple treaties of peace and friendship between Morocco and the United States. And when you look in these treaties, talk about Moors, like 1700s, 1600s, 1500s, so that he's slow walking the people. He said, if I give you all the information, you're going to go back to sleep. He's talking to them people back then he was talking to. Heavy Christian, heavy Protestant, heavy Negro spiritual people, Underground Railroad, all that type of stuff. They heavy into that. They think that's their history. So he had to slow walk these people. And he also inherited a following when what's the brother that went to jail that was from Jamaica? Marcus Garvey. He inherited like 10,000, 20 followers of his and brought them into the light. But half them people thought they were from Africa. And he wasn't even from Africa. He was from Jamaica.
He's from Jamaica, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, he just setting stuff straight, but slow walking them at the time. You can't. Everybody not ready for that straight, direct light. People run from the light. You got to slow walk these people, engage them. Well, not now. I wouldn't say now. Like I say, it's Aquarian age and people picking up on info. But yeah, yeah, you'll see in his literature, he give you all the cues that we connected to an ancient empire for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
So would you think that it's important that we, like, because I was kind of thinking about doing some type of research or some type of going all the way back to try to trace. Man, I just looked at my last name and you see that my last name was by a former slave master. You know, I'm thinking my last name, my granddaddy last name is a French name. My auntie was like, nah, your mama found that out a couple years ago. And I typed in my last name. My last name is from a plantation, bro. So
What's your last name?
Huh?
What's your last name?
Lamon, Leamon.
That's Moorish. See, what you're gonna realize is, I'm not sure if you studied like the original people of Europe. Like if you get, I recommend a book called Ancient and Modern Britons or Britons, and in that book, it's an Albion or modern European, or most people call white today. He's telling you who the original Scottish, the original people from Ireland, the original Europeans was darker than everybody on here. So when you say, "Oh, I got a British name," you're just saying you got a Moorish name. For instance, Douglas is a Moorish name, a European Moorish title. It's a bunch of anything with like MAUR, any change of the vowels or anything like that. But most importantly, my point right now, don't just because I got a French name, British name, think it's a pale person. Because we're the original,
Right.
we're the original Europeans. You know what I'm saying? So, and those were Moors. Now by nationality, now by creed, it was a separation between the Moors that kept their original culture and the ones that wanted to be called Roman. Our people that wanted to do the Roman thing, you know, we start beefing with them over multiple years. We got hundreds of years of beef. Look up the Punic Wars. You know, look up the Punic is go from the Phoenician, you know, or where you get phonetics, which is just our people that, you know, migrated from Mexico to what they call the Iberian Peninsula and set up what you call Carthage Empire, the Carthaginians and stuff like that. But all these is Moors, like so when you look at it like that, it makes you look at things different. You know.
Could you explain that again? How you said we broke off from Europeans, and then from Europeans, that's where that's how the Romans became who they are. They're basically Moors, but they said, well, we broke off from what?
So before anything called Roman, you had just the Carthaginians, the Sumerians, the Babylonians, the Olmecs, the Cushites, the Hammatites, the Hittites. All these was clans of Moors. Later in the game, you had people that wasn't down with that original culture. They wanted to create what you call secret societies, you know, dark magic and all this type of stuff. So they call themselves having a Roman ideology. But the skin tone was still the same, still Moors, but they decided to do something else in Roman. Word El Islam, happy holy day.
Happy Holy Day. I did. Wardell.
Oh, there. Okay, Islam. Happy Holy Day. My bad. I didn't know if the speaker was on or not.
Islam.
Happy Holy Day.
Happy Holy Day.
Happy Holy Day.
Or Islam, brother.
But yeah, man. But yeah, so don't think of Roman or European as pale. Think of just ideology change. You know. So. Yeah. Did I answer your question? You said that's what you wanted to know. How did it go from
Right? Where did the Romans come in? You said that how we broke off, and they're really Moors as well. They broke off with their ideology, so it separated us. We was doing a lot of separating, and oh man,
in fight?
We still do.
Mm-hmm.
Rips and bloods. Everybody want to, say it's in us.
Yeah.
All the way back then.
But yeah, but that's pretty straightforward. Brother Blaze, Blaze and Nuna.
Yes, that's pretty clear. Yeah. Wow.
So question, wouldn't it be do you think that it would be impactful if we do you think that it's better that we collaborate all underneath the title of Moor, or do we go back to our ancient tribes or create new tribes? I guess that's what I was asking initially in reference to Native American history.
Yeah, as long as everybody in the clan or the nation state or the body politic or the temple knows their Moors, you can organize it and it'll just be a Moorish state, but as long as everybody know their nationality, that's the main thing, you're talking about like, Chickaw and
Yeah.
Cherokee and all that type of stuff. Yeah, all them is Moors, all them is Moorish states, Moorish clans. It's not like Cherokee is a nation on its own. They're just a clan within the nation.
Could you explain that one more time? How I know that you broke down how Indians were on this were over here, and they basically were here, but they were exiled. That's why they were intense, because they came over to fight and they fought with the other Moors to come over to conquer us, and because the other Moors left them here. They were stranded, and so we as Moors, we did abandon them. So we gave them the land to go. And those were the Moors that were against us coming to it because they came over to attack us, right?
Yeah, so one of our brothers or our cousins in what they call Tartary or the Tartarian side of the empire, Genghis Khan. He wanted to rule and expand his empire. He didn't care. He was beefing with his cousins, all that. Matter of fact, watch Marco Polo on Netflix. Just remember, all these people was dark. So just to keep it, he expanded so far where he went to the Bering Straits, which was the bridge that connected Alaska to China and Russia, and Manchuria, China. And he grabbed some Mongolians to assist him in attempting to defeat the Barbary states of America, and he lost. So they ran off, and the Mongolians that were left behind to assist him got stuck here because the Bering Straits melted. So there's no way to get from Alaska to China except on boat now, right? So what happens is we was like, you know what? We know y'all were just Slavs of the Khan, so this is what we're gonna do. We ain't gonna treat y'all bad, but y'all can't be in the Taj Mahal style buildings. You can't be around all this silk and this gold and all that. Y'all gonna have these reservations and teepees and tents, and y'all be on the outskirts. So today, fast forwarding today, it's promoted that these Mongolians are the original people and that the Moors got shit from Africa.
Yes. Yeah, I needed to have.
Yeah, I've seen that flag, the Tartarian and the Moorish flag, when we combined.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's that flag that represents when they killed not the Tartarians, but I forget what place it represents. But there's a flag to where it shows that it's killing the black bird, the darker bird, and it's a pale like a European on a horse. The horse is white, the person is white, but he's stabbing with a spear. The dark bird, which was on the original flag of the Tartarian and the Moorish flag.
So when we decided to the Marco Polo era, when we decided to try to expand and grow out of it was selfishness and greed, and we and then they decided to bring in the Mongolians to help defeat us. Do you think what triggered us to be such in that mindset? Do you think was it a European influence then as well, or did they influence that? Do you think?
No.
Or is that a question?
Well, for one, remember, it was no, like how people think of white people, like as far as Albion, look, those were all Slavs back then. They were not in power at all.
They were slaves. Okay, yeah.
They had no political power. It was just.
So this was just Moors against Moors.
Because he wanted to
Moors against Moors, yeah. Wanted to be, okay. Fighting themselves.
So is that how the through that story, that's how the Native Americans ended up having African slaves. Because at one point we were enslaved by the Mongolian side of Native Americans, correct?
Yeah, later once the modern Europeans start going to war with us and they linked up. And go when yep, they linked up with them later in the game because they was like they got in their ear. They're like, man, y'all always gonna be second fiddle to the Moors, man. So once y'all buy into this code system that we're about to create, these Christian black codes, we want to turn these Moors into Indians and turn them Indians into Negroes via the Civil Rights Act. Because when you look up the Civil Rights Act, it's the nickname of that is called the Indian Act. Yeah, right. The Civil Rights Act was for Negroes, right? So they're telling you right there, them Negroes are really Indians. We know Indians are really more. So that was, um, that's where you get the $5 Indians and all this type of stuff. Yeah, it was definitely. I guess that was a coup too. That was a whole cool situation.
Agents, right?
Wow.
What is that?
Said the $5 Indians were pretty much like agents, right?
Agents?
Asians.
Like they pretty much like was working for them.
Right. Yeah. The $5 Indians are modern Europeans paying to be looked at as indigenous to here. They're not even from, you know what I mean? So
that's where they get that land and the government assistance and the casinos and all that. That's how they got all that capital after that through those backyard. Basically, you scratch my back, I scratch your back type of deal.
exactly.
Yeah.
Wait, say that again. So basically the way that it's set up now, where we currently see Indians on reservations and the casinos, like you said, they have all that going on. So basically you're saying that whole concept is just to keep us all asleep, to think that, oh, they are those Indians that we have on the plantations are the indigenous people. There are no Moors. These are the original people.
Right.
Oh man, they got good game.
Yeah. And let me just show. Can y'all see the screen?
Huh?
Can everybody see the screen that I'm sharing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So just, I'm pretty sure most people seen this, but this is Title 29, Jurisdiction and Sovereignty, Delaware Code. They're talking about the Nape Indians. And as you can see, okay. So the Lenape Indian tribe of Delaware, right? It states that. You see it? You already saw it, right?
The tribe was formerly known as the Moors.
There you go.
Wow.
The tribe was formerly known as the Moors. Now this is in their stuff. It's not, ain't no secret.
Formerly known as Moors, and they put it in paper. They got that's crazy. Wow. For decades of the 20th century. That's wild.
So, like I said, back to the competency. That's how we gonna wake the people up, man. Because it ain't no debate. It ain't no debate.
What document is this again?
This is you can find it by going to the Delaware Codes, Title 29.
Title 29. Let me screen the shot that.
And then you got to go to Chapter 1 of Title 29 under Jurisdiction and Sovereignty.
All right.
Well, I was seeing that on that one brother's page on Instagram, Curimo, or I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but he was also doing a story on how they kind of tricked us when they first got over here because, or I don't want to say when they first got over here, but at a point of time and then being over here, they actually in some lands they purchased the land and got a bill of right and receipt. Right, from like the Washita Indian tribe or whatever the case may be, there was like a bill of sale where they purchased the land for like $24. But back then they didn't really. I guess he was saying that we didn't really understand that, the land could be for sale, and we didn't understand the longevity of what was going on. We was just like, okay, you want this little piece of land for X amount of dollars? Cool. Do you have any speculation in regards to that, or
Well, for one, you're not, like back to the original culture, you don't sell your land that is your ancestral land. You don't sell it at best, you'll rent it out. You're not supposed to be selling no land that is in trust or part of an Aboriginal and indigenous community. That violates everything. That's your ancestors' land, so if that was going down, then the people were asleep already.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
and I don't have the best. I'm not saying I'm not saying it verbatimly, but it was just something around that. So I'm pretty sure y'all's conversation would be a little bit more intellectual.
But yeah, man, you see where it's at, man. It's all right here for you. Nothing's really hidden
It
no more.
sure is. That's what's so cold is that they give it all right to you. You just have to read it. They know we're not gonna read it. They know we're not gonna look for this stuff. They know we're not gonna try to read, and it's right here. And all they can say is that we put it right there in your face. All you had to do was go get the information. It's right there. But because you didn't, then we can still take control. We just gonna keep dangling you like a little rag doll until you go and learn and find out who you really are. Until you do that, this is where we are.
Yeah, man.
This
Yeah.
is so crazy. They said right here, it says the tribe can date their ancestral ties as far back as the 1700s. Who was here in 1700? That's right there, 17. You look at the date, they said 1700.
And what was
Now,
the
if they
treaties?
can
And the treaty was what? The treaty was
1786, come on now, it's right there.
You got to use common sense.
You were Moors. These are Moors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
But once again, we want to have these things in our toolbox so when we waking people up, we can come with sound, intellectual, and not emotional approach.
Facts.
And, self-explanatory.
It says in 1921 they built a school for the children of people called Moors, and as a result, 2 schools were built, one in the town of Cheswold and one at Fort Branch on Denny's Road in Kent County.
You know what? I saw a movie I don't know, I can't recall it, but I remember seeing a movie that was written about back then, and they were showing how they were taking these children, Indians at the time, the children out of the houses on these on territories and saying that if you want to stay on this territory, we have to educate your children. They took all the children, they forced them to go to school, and then these are the schools, and they forced them to they changed their clothes. They had to come out of wearing the wraps, how the kids would be dressing. They made them dress in pants, a tie, and European style. And it was deep too because of how they were abusing those children, but they was taking them from the houses, and they had to be young so that they can start brainwashing the kids of all these Indians that they had, saying that you're gonna be, we can ready to. Oh my goodness, this was so deep. I forgot the name of that movie, but I saw this. So they built schools.
Yeah.
They built,
and those
that's the
schools were
mission.
designed to change their mind, to get those kids.
In California, they called it missionary, mission. What's that? Mission Diego and all that. All them, that's what they was doing.
Wow, for children of people called Moors. Damn, they had a school just for the kids. That right there is a wake up call. Why do they have to have a school just for Moorish children? So they can denationalize your thinking and get you at a child. That stuff is deep. They are so ruthless. Damn, they got us. And they snatched us up. Got us. Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. School for the children of people called Moors.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's all right here. And this is just information that is relatively old. Like it's been in circulation. You see
Mm,
how this past I just pulled it up, is so you want to get to that point where you just got a bunch of stuff that you can just off the hip just upload. And be like,
mhm.
look, man, this is where it's at.
Yeah.
How many different levels, man? You could be in court. This stuff, because when you start political status, when you're asserting your nationality and you putting exhibits in court to substantiate your position,
Mm-hmm.
this would be one of the exhibits.
This is an exhibit. It's like it's right here
Mhm.
in your knowledge. This is what you are saying.
Right. And
Courts, this is what you're saying. This is the information right here. We're not making this up. You you put it out there for us to get, and we put it right back in your face. The truth.
matter of fact, you can use this hand in hand with most of the House resolutions that talk about we Aboriginal and Indigenous, like the ones in Texas,
Mm-hmm.
Chicago, Illinois. There's one in LA, in the city halls and the mayor's office, and it goes hand in hand with this. Just as far as because you want to enforce the rights of indigenous people as well,
Mm-hmm.
because it's still jurisdictional,
Mm-hmm.
as
Yo,
well.
brother Murphy, is there a? I don't mean to interrupt. Sorry about that, bro.
No, you
Is there is there a resource or a book that I could read more information into on the Genghis Khan part and more literature to or what resource did you use to
a Cedar Duke of Tears had a couple videos. He goes in depth on that. One World Tartaria.
Okay.
I would highly recommend watching Marco Polo. Just watch that whole thing. And
That's a movie. That's a
no,
movie?
it's a series. It's about 2 seasons. I think it's like 10 episodes each.
That's on Netflix?
Yeah. Yep. Marco
Bet.
Polo. Mm-hmm. And
Nasir too, like on his when he's doing those, he's always dropping like books where he's getting all his information from too. So he drops all kinds of names of books.
In the
That's
movie?
it.
In the movie?
No,
No.
Asir, the Duke of Tears, when he does
Oh,
his
Asir, yeah.
presentation,
Duke of
yeah, he
Tears.
always drops like books where he's getting his information and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So can you just kind of give a little replay on, okay, so I'll know how to start where I'm at with Marco Polo and the history. So basically Marco Polo is going to be during that era, it's going to show how the one side of the Moors was basically coming to ready to conquer El Morocco. Basically, he
Um,
teamed up and he was on the side with he's the one that incorporated the Mongolians to fight against us, against the
yeah.
Moors.
Those are
Okay,
his
so that's
Slavs. Yeah.
okay. So Marco Polo is part of that whole little takeover. And
Well, not so. Marco Polo is a Slav. He's a character in the movie.
yeah,
And he was Genghis Khan. I mean, no, this wasn't even Genghis Khan. This was Kublai Khan. So Genghis was before him. This
okay.
is actually, but the reason I say look at it because it's still going to put in context, like I said, the Slavs. Everybody heard the Silk Road in here? The Silk Road. It was like a Moorish trading road across the whole world.
Okay.
Talk about that in here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of merchants, different, silk, rubies, diamonds, depending on what part of the Silk Road you in. Think of like a bunch of merchants from America all the way like through Russia and Manchuria. It's just a Silk Road
Mm-hmm.
of people trading. And
Mhm.
everybody wanted to be able to participate and buy stuff,
Mhm. Mm-hmm.
and but this is based in a time of the 1300s, but it's before he actually came over this side. He was at the Marco Polo is just showing how he's conquering all like the Song dynasty and all these different Asian clans, and he unified them under the Khanate. Everybody had to pledge allegiance, and then he started moving towards like the areas that were controlled by the popes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up conquering those areas and stuff like that, but that's not going to show you him coming to America quite yet.
Okay.
That came a little later.
Okay. Okay. So he's still over there conquering other areas first. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But,
Okay.
it's a book. Have you read Brother Blaze? They Were Here Before Columbus by Ivan Van Sertima?
I haven't read all of it, but I already got it. Yep.
Yeah, read that. It's going to tell you too.
Mhm.
I mean, it's more in addition to what we're talking about. It'll corroborate that and then talk about the brother Abu Bakari. He was a sultan in the Mali Empire. He was part of the Mansa Musa. No, this sultan was before Mansa Musa, but Mansa Musa was an emperor of the Mali Empire, most richest man in the world. That's a commercial story,
Yep.
but
Yep.
there was a sultan before him named Mansa Musa. He came over here and started what you call the Aztecs.
He started the Aztecs.
And then they
I
start
thought
correcting.
Mansa was. I thought he was just recorded as traveling to the
No.
Americas and trading.
No, I brought up Mansa Musa just to let you know, Abu Bakari was one of the emperors before Mansa Musa of the Mali Empire, because Mansa Musa was the head of the Mali Empire, but
Yes,
it was a couple emperors before him, and one of those emperors was named Abu Bakari, and Abu Bakari came over here and started the Aztecs, and then they corrupted his story to make it seem like he was Jesus or Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl, the mystified version of Quetzalcoatl, but and it's Quetzalcoatl just represents the winged serpent, which you'll see in a lot of temple ruins, that serpent and the winged disc, and it just represents the connection of the Moorish Empire. Even today in the Mexican flag, that's what that's symbolizing. But I just bring that up as additional information so you can see that when you start talking about Indians or anything of that nature, when you take it back, you're going back to Moorish dominions, things like that.
Okay.
That's the only reason I brought that up, and then you could put the Genghis Khan piece with that, and you'll see the timeline.
That's the chunk I'm missing. That's all right. That's what I need to study.
Yeah.
Now that'll bring together, because there was another brother I asked him about the significance of the Buffalo Soldiers, and we were talking about the Buffalo Soldiers and whatnot, and we came to the conclusion that I think the Buffalo Soldiers were forced. They were slaves, but they were forced between the choice of death or soldiering up and going to fight for the land, fight the Indians for the land, but they were fighting their own people. But it was either that or death. But I've heard that song by Bob Marley, Buffalo Soldiers, and it's real prominent in Black America to symbolize as heroes the Buffalo Soldiers, basically their journey. And I was just kind of always wondering, why is that such a staple?
Because it's a lot of story behind Bob Marley. His ancestors being Slav masters and things of that nature. There's a lot of story behind that, but now, but think about it. Just back to using common sense. If they're glorifying Buffalo Soldier, we know it's negative. It shows you why they're promoting it so heavy like that, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing like with James Brown, the whole "I'm Black and I'm Proud" thing. You got to think, like, why are these songs so pivotal? Because in the 60s, it was a Reconstruction. That was trying to get us to think, because the Civil Rights Act was in the 60s, but that the nickname was the Indian Act, right? The name that song "I'm Black and Not Proud" came out in the 60s. So these are CIA agents to have our people pacified and think Black is a word of empowerment. Right? NAACP came out in the 60s, right? All these things popped up out of nowhere Um, so it was designed to keep us thinking that a dead status is empowering. So
Well, isn't there at a point in time to where, and I'm not speaking about the heads of these organizations, but isn't there a point to where I think one unique thing about our culture that's always been unique is we take a negative and turn it into a positive. Now, I'm not embodying the terminology black because since I know that I'm a Moor, I don't allow anybody to refer to me or call me black. If you want to call yourself black, that's on you. But what I do know about our people is that we so unique that we take negative terminology and we turn it into positivity. Do you think that's possibly what could have been at that point in time in the 60s what James Brown and some of them were doing? If they had that mentality as if you're gonna kick me while I'm down, or if you're gonna call me what you want to call me, but or whatever, they had some type of form to build themselves back up. No, or what do you
I mean,
expect?
my personal opinion would be that he was an agent.
Hmm.
And that's just my intuition based on especially the time. But I feel what you're saying. I feel like you're basically saying we needed something to feel good about because we were so being kicked in the
Right.
ass. Yeah, right.
Right.
I can feel that, but my personal intuition would be like, nah, that's 'cause remember, this was the 60s, so a lot of the information about the Moors was still kind of heavy. Still, a lot of people alive, I should say, that knew about the Moors based on the Moor Science Temple. It wasn't, now mind you, it wasn't much technology where you can just type like I just showed you right now. That's true, but there was still a lot of organizations that were Moors, a lot of this information was out there in a pure form. It wasn't just buried.
Yeah, because it was still new. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Accessible.
yeah.
Right.
So for somebody, his age at the time, James Brown was at that time, I would say he knew, you know, remember he's famous, he's in the public eye. And even today, anybody in the public eye, they're not, these colonists ain't gonna let you be in the public eye unless you puppet dancing. You dancing. You know what I'm saying? If you tell them blunt truth, they're not gonna have you in the public eye. You know what I'm saying? Uncut. So that's why, I'm more lean towards the latter of even like Farrakhan, people like Farrakhan, there's no way he's talking so bad about this white man over all these years and nothing happened to him. You know what I'm saying? So that's my scale. If you in the public eye all the time, you on the radio all the time, you all in these movies all the time, you working for them. Period. Because you would have set up. It's kind of like these NBA players. Why they ain't left and start their own league? Stuff like that, man. It's like you see through it after a while. Once you get this stuff, you can see it. You're not going to be a star in their system telling the truth. Uncut. They're not gonna let you. They're gonna blackball you, buy something, and create this propaganda slander campaign against you. They're gonna do something. So that's kind of like why I say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will say this. I feel like it's a new time now, though. I feel like the world is so woke now, and everybody. You can look on Instagram. Everybody talking about indigenous something now. It's a wave. So I think this is a good time to revamp that energy of the 60s, of our revolutionaries. You know what I mean? It's just like I said, the revolution's not televised. When it gets serious, and really trying to really, really do something, we just don't want to put it out there like that.
I can say because I can relate to there's like in the Bible they say it's going to be the chosen 500 or something like that. You know how they try to narrows the spirituality down. It can be interpreted completely to applying to what we're doing, and it can also be interpreted another way. But the way I see it is, this knowledge that we have is gonna have to be intellectual. This is gonna be an intellectual revolution. It's not gonna be physical. It's not gonna be marching in the streets. not going to be that. It's going to be an intellectual movement, and we all now just really, this generation is starting to wake up intellectually, because we weren't. We have the internet now. The information is accessible. So we just can just tap right on into the knowledge, learning what we need to know. But that's going to be how I believe this movement, or this revolution is going to take place. Got to be intellectual, because we can't win. We're not going to be, we can't come up against them in war. They have all of the, they can just annihilate us anytime they want to. They have that power. But because if we would have to move in a way where it's just, you got to fight them with their own, it's got to be a spiritual fight against them, to know that you can't back down on the truth. We have to put the truth in your face and let the truth fight for us. Truth, love, freedom, and justice. That's what it is. And we have to stand on that, because I don't see us being able, like I asked the question before, do other countries, like Noble Drew Ali can go over to another country and they recognize him as a Moor and they give him that recognition, but do we have that power today with other countries? Are they going to just open up and say, yes, we welcome you, Moors? No, it's not going to be as easy in our generation right now. So I think this is just my own and spiritual interpretation of what I see. That we need to, it's going to be a definite intellectual revolution.
But I would still say, remember the type of numbers Noble Drew Ali had as well. And even back then, he wasn't going to war. The Moors wasn't going to war with nobody. It was just, they was doing their thing. They had so much manpower where, they was able to do their thing. Like, think about it. If you would go to LA right now, and everybody in LA that think they Black, Hispanic, Latino knew they was Moors. Now, we can put somebody in office to be a mayor. So imagine we do that again at another municipality. Because the people was the vote of the people.
They have us so divided right now. This era, we are so divided. I mean, the Latino community, they'll be like, well, why we got to let y'all come up and be them? Why you guys got to take the power, take the lead? We got the majority in this area. You know what I'm saying? Koreans, Asians, they come up and say, no, we're not going to let y'all come up, and you know what I'm saying? We're too divided.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But I'm saying, in the ideal world, like, that's how you would start, because Noble Drew Ali had congressmen, mayors that were voted in by Moors, and then those Moors implemented municipality law. We only enforcing the Constitution in this area. That's because a mayor is a small level. It's still small, but it's a start. Rubbing shoulders with I forgot I can't think of the name, but it's people that work in the city hall next to the mayor. Councilman, getting councilman, starting off as getting elected as a councilman. Campaigning. But the thing is, you need a lot of Moors in one area. I know who they are to vote you in. You know what I'm saying? Because look at these Asians. That's why it's Chinatown. back to the classic example. They got bodies, humans that are voting. The board of supervisors of Orange County, that's who runs over Orange County. It's not even the mayor. When you look up the board of supervisors in any county, that's who is running the show. The sheriffs work for them, the mayors work for them, the board of directors. And the board of directors in Orange County, all Vietnamese. And you got 5 different Vietnamese, Garden Grove, Vietnamese, Anaheim, Vietnamese community. You can see the Vietnamese got stuff on lock out here, and where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? In certain other places, it might be the Koreans, it might be the Chinese or whatever, but they got political power. they're in positions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To really change the narrative because they're in the position. There are people put them in. It's a bunch of them in one area. But they're like, no, we want this person.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is.
Ooh. Well, all I can say is that I'm in Leimert Park, and this is the one of the areas in Los Angeles that's supposed to be predominantly quote unquote Black kind of filtrated, and it's already genocide coming in here. I was driving down the street, and I'm just sitting in traffic trying to get home, and I see this is during the middle of the day. I'm not middle of the day, but I'm getting off work at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I'm looking over in the neighborhoods, and I'm seeing white people walking dogs, and they walking, and this is like 5 minutes from my house in this area, and then you see them in their yard, in the yards. They buy, they have a out in their front yard, out in the garden, out gardening. I'm like, what the? Am I looking at? Am I in a freaking a world warp? Because I'm like, this is literally white people are just coming in. They're out just living like, oh, we're here. We're gonna be here, and we're just moving right in your neighborhood, and we're gonna take all these all these houses over here. Well, you guys not gonna have no. We're gonna take all this. So we're not gonna. So how can we? This was these type of areas. Leimert Park were like areas where Black-owned properties. I mean, they have an area up on top of the hills. They call that the Black Beverly Hills because the houses are so big and so nice, and they're all Black-owned. But these white people are coming in here and taking them. They moving in and taking all these houses that we've had, and it's this whole little area, and it's just like, wow, right in our face, slow. They bringing the trains in. The trains are coming through. They, bringing in transportation so these white people can get in and out to get to work and get back. It's just crazy how you can see. Okay, so I'm just saying, I was bringing that up to say, where can we start our own little area of to penetrate and talk to politicians to get them on this level where we can say, well, we already have a little community right now. Leimert Park, this area, Baldwin Hills, is predominantly Black, so let's focus on that area and just get these people enlightened or get them knowledgeable about what's going on. So we can kind of unite where we are. We do have a foothold right here, but it looks like it's about to get dissolved. They coming in here, taking up, buying everything, the businesses, the houses, they just transforming. It just makes you sad sometimes. It just makes you sad. But then when you look and say, how can we just make change for ourselves? Because we got to do it. We got to do it. Because if we don't, we're just going to be just wiped out in all across Morocco, everywhere, every other city. I don't know what city you in, sis. What city? New Orleans. Okay. Oh, New Orleans. Well, look at that. They tried to destroy that and get you out of it.
And look, the mayor from out there. The mayor from out there in California. But ever since the gentrifiers came here, the crime has picked up.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they've been robbing them, jacking their cars, making them move back to wherever they came from. It's bad here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we can make a difference some kind of way. I don't know what our future is gonna hold, but
that's the next level is to because if you get a nice little body, a Moors, we can literally go like door to door, like how them the Mormons and all that.
The Jehovah's Witnesses.
We can go door to door. We go door to door to these people and be like, look, this the play. Even though y'all know
the play. Look, y'all Moors, wake the hell up. Let me knock on your door. Look, let me tell you what's really going on. They'll be like, oh shoot, here come them Moors.
But not on that type of tip. I'm talking about on the tip like we got House resolutions, we got all this congressional records. Like, look, man, it's already in the city halls. We have original and indigenous. Even if y'all don't quite get it, just look, this the play. Y'all just stand behind us. It's gonna be about 20, 30 more with feathers and turbans. Y'all just act like y'all with us. and watch what we do. Because the whole thing is you want the foreigner to think we all together.
Yeah, that we have
And then once the people
numbers.
behind us, they see how we talking, they're gonna be like, oh man, this we don't know exactly what's going on, but it's a little different. It's a little different out here. Because you know, that's the only logical.
You know what? You know what? That sounds like it's doable. You know, because if we got enough to just kind of say, you know, maybe once a month, twice a month, we just go knock on some freaking doors and just have a simple little conversation. Did you know, a simple little conversation. Look, you know, and if we get rejected, it's rejected. But at least we tried. Somebody gonna listen because you know they're gonna see, damn, y'all a little different. Y'all not you're not Jehovah Witnesses. You're not the Farrakhan. Let me see. You're not the Israelites.
Right,
Okay,
right.
well, let me hear what y'all got to say. What y'all talking about? You know, and hey, boom, that's the door.
and like I say, the conversation with peace would be showing these people congressional records.
Congressional records, the
And
fact.
like, look, now the reason we're showing you this is to then show them the rights of indigenous people. To show them that, look, if we go to the city hall 100 deep, they got to start giving us stuff for free. All this abandoned stuff, it's right here in the rights of indigenous people with their contractual obligations is. The only problem is, like you say, we're too scattered. We don't want to be on the same page. They thinking, no, I'm Hebrew Israelite. I'm this, I'm that. But ultimately, you got to be the more to invoke this law. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that the ego got to get put to the side. You know, for little big plays to be made. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, wouldn't it just a spare a thought? What if we I don't know how many people it would take. Say you get between 20 and 50 people a year. No, excuse me, 20 to 50 Moors a year that you connect with, not necessarily coming into the Khalifa society, but if we connect with other societies, and even those Moors who are still operating under the United States, as far as like with jobs and Social Security, birth certificate, whatever the case may be, we take a tax return. Each and every one of us take $1,000 and go buy the land. Then when we buy the land, the doors that we do knock on, we bring the people to see how we coexist. Kind of like how the young brother Ben X, he just did the Hereafter Farms. I think they just bought like close to 100 acres or something like that, out somewhere down there in the South.
Okay.
And we start taking our land back through that way, and then we go into because my thing is, I don't really see these politicians moving nothing. You got to have a true love for the people in the community to really feel where we coming from. Yeah, and politicians ain't gonna be about nothing. And the last thing I would want is somebody around me in a suit, smiling like everything is gonna be cool, but they playing a double domino.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So we got to be self-sufficient once we learn how to coexist and coincide with each other just on our own free will and accord.
Yeah,
I think because our people are we so into a pattern of, you could say, hey, listen, I got a business venture. Join me in this business venture, and there's light at the end of this tunnel. Well, we so careful and we're trained not to trust nobody, and that come from breeding within our own communities. Most of us be like, nah, show me the light at the end of the tunnel, or call me when you get to the end of the tunnel. Then we'll check and see if it's some light.
Right.
So we got to first lay the example.
Yeah, that's true.
I would think so. But if we, and it don't matter what, if a Moor was in the temple or whatever the case, if their heart is true, Allah will guide them the right way, and Allah will bring them to the righteous path. And seeking that truth, because that truth is it's just gonna be what it is. So at the end of the day, I think that we get a plethora of people who understand it just from the heart first, where it should be birthed from, and then when everybody starts seeing how we moving, and they getting tired of seeing the results that they seeing from the government, from politics, and from celebrities, and from all of that. Then they'll be like, you know what? Let's turn ahead and see what those Moors are doing.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm a Moor too, or
Yeah.
I can also forge underneath, or excuse me, not forge, but I can also collaborate underneath the Moroccan Empire and hold up love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, because I see how they coincide with one another.
Mhm.
Then that's how the empire starts to get rebuilt.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree with that.
But I got $1,000 down, man, when we ready.
Right. Yeah, man. And that ultimately that'll be the number one way. But that's the key, you know, coming up with a strategy to put people together like that, to be on one accord, you know, and based on like I've been in this trying to unify people for about just only 2 years, not been too long, but you see it takes time, you know, to get a lot of people on the same page, unless like I say, like how we got everybody on this call from different areas and stuff. We all
Mhm.
got friends and family, and our duty would be to bring them into the centralization, so we can do stuff like that, bring them into one body.
Mhm.
And like you say, in order to have that heart chakra vibrate, they got to get the lessons, Quran lessons, and if they're, I ain't gonna say they have to get the Quran lessons, but most people need them because most people aren't vibrating like that off top. People need to get groomed into
Mhm.
working with their brothers and sisters. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? Clearly, because it would be happening. If that wasn't the case, then we would be unified right now. So, like you say, that's the area that must definitely got to get cleaned up. The jealousy and the hate and the being divided off stuff that don't matter and stuff like that.
Oh
Um,
yeah, it's gonna take that spiritual person first. We gotta have that. What is it? Know thyself, man. We gotta know ourselves
yeah,
individually. Gotta know yourself, and to know yourself is to have that your chakra, your higher and lower self balance. So I'm working out of my lower self right now. Let me work with myself. I'm working out of my higher, and you're coming out your higher self. So, and that's the only way we're gonna operate. You gotta operate with each other
yeah,
in our higher selves, and we have to learn to get there. That's the thing, learning to get there, changing the diet, the the thing, reading and understanding the connection to the source, um you know and just meditating and and aligning ourselves, because we're going to vibrate, and once we vibrate on the same, we vibrating on that same type of vibration, we definitely, that's the power. That's the power, because that's the unity, that's the power, and that's gonna make that's gonna move, we're gonna move some stuff. We're gonna make some things move.
yeah.
We
Because
gotta
High
be
energy.
on the same
remember,
energy. We gotta be on that same energy. Yep.
just look around. Look around. What all other nationalities of people see how political power they have, specifically these Asians. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like they got political power because as a people they stick together.
Stick
They got a
together.
game plan, and there
Mm-hmm.
be clusters of them in areas. They don't be scattered. They be
Hmm.
they be in one area. Even though it's clusters of us, we just our mind is
Our mind,
scattered.
it's our mind. It's that
Our mind
spirit.
is
Yeah,
scattered.
it's the mind. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think we got it though. I mean, I'll say this. I know it's 100 Moors in every state, 50 states right now. We could collab with. I'm talking about today.
Yeah, sure.
It's 100
Yeah. Yeah.
in each state right now, and that's just a small toss.
Mm-hmm.
I got a brother with some land right now, bro, who has an acre set to his side for me.
Mm. Yeah, man.
Just think about it. Everybody think about it, man. Whenever, man, just lock in with me, bro.
You in Arizona? That's where the land's at?
Nah, the land is in Washington.
Which Washington? DC or Seattle?
Seattle.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be going out there sometime this year. He inherited it, him and his wife, through her father. Her father passed away.
Okay.
And left him 40 acres. How about that? 40 acres and a mule, right?
viewer. There you go.
Yeah.
Right on time. Wow. Well, this has been a powerful, for me, lesson tonight. I'm glad I was in tune and not too tired to comprehend, because I sit up here sometimes I ain't falling asleep after I get off work. I'm like, okay, I don't fell asleep on the thing on Zoom. But I like this piece about, giving an insight and starting from the beginning of, just knowing when we are talking to people, what the Moorish Science Temple is all about, how the Nation of Islam formed, because that's usually the kind of Moors you're going to run into is the followers and the Farrakhan's, and then they're going to have their, concept of how they're understanding. And, I can now talk to them clearly and let them know, no, the facts are this, and this is the direction you guys are going, and this is where you're supposed to be going, and I can follow the whole sequence, the timeline to prove it. And it's not about an emotional conversation, it's about a factual conversation. This is this is what really went down. You just didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you'd be, the younger people in the Nation of Islam that I be talking to, they're not as they're open. They look at it like we're adept, like I say, it's a new time. Like people like in 20, 25, 26, 30.
Yeah.
They're not as hard headed. Like, I'm starting to see it. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, it makes sense. So it's gonna, just keep doing it, keep moving, keep plotting and planning. It's gonna take off.
That's kind of like what more science is, though, because you got your regular schools of thought, and then you come to more science, and your church and your holy mosque, and they teach you if you can catch it, they teach you the science of how to build yourself. But then more science teaches you the aspect of law, astrology, cosmology, putting everything back into order, to divine order, within divine order and law.
Right.
And balance. So it is kind of like an adept chamber.
Yeah. Yeah. From that perspective, yeah, I can see that, which, and I even heard some Nation of Islam people say, in government, you need the military and you need the people that know law in there, which they're alluding to the fact that they would be the military or whatever. But, when we was out doing our tour at Leimert Park, a couple of the FOI, they'd be out there at Leimert when we'd be out there at the same time. We had other conversations and stuff like that. Actually, one of the brothers wanted me to go and meet with Ben X at this little conference. And something that happened with, not Ben X, Rizza Islam.
Rizza, yeah.
Yeah, Rizza Islam. Something happened with him. And it was like, I don't know. He got into like some issues or something, and he wasn't able to do the thing. But that would have been cool though, just to see what would have happened out of that. Just pulling up and seeing how, because that's what I was going to do, was go to the one of their functions and as a guest and just try to show what we're talking about tonight and how it'll be beneficial to unite. What I'm saying?
Yeah.
But stuff like that we just kind of keep it pushing, keep it going, and it's gonna take off, man. But
I think, like you said, man, we in the age of divine transformation right now. Everything is shifting. The Queen of England passed away. Different CEOs. With the CEO of Amazon stepped down.
Wait a minute, and
these leaders, they passing it down now.
Yeah. And on a nature tip, we had a freaking this week we had a major tornado in Los Angeles, California. We had a tornado that ripped off buildings, the roofs, plywoods that you can't even carry. Plywood, that's how strong it was. I'm like, what? That was like right here just 2 days ago. So it's the whole energy that things are, being there. So some stuff going on in the atmosphere.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was in Montebello, Mafi.
Okay.
It's the 0.8 or something, whatever. I don't know the number measurements, but it was a big one, enough to rip off roofs of warehouses. I mean, build millions of things, millions of dollars. This one Asian guy, it was an Asian warehouse. He was selling sushi. He was fish warehousing, he provided most of the sushi and fish and all that to a lot of the restaurants mostly in Los Angeles County, and that was the main hub, and that is all gone. It's totally destroyed, like major destruction. He says he don't know how. I mean, really, major warehouse just destroyed. So that was a big tornado. That's all I'm saying. That was a big tornado.
That's crazy. Yes. There ain't never no tornadoes in California.
In California?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I just was relating that to, the time of the times we're in, And
yeah. But that's all I got, for tonight. I know it's 10 out here, so I know it's late out there.
Oh yeah.
Nobody else got no questions, I'm gonna go and close out.
All right.
Man, when we gonna put this thing together, man? I'm about solutions, man. Let's kick this door open.
Yeah, man. Anybody let them know, man, because we need the unity regardless of whatever we pull the trigger on. They gotta be logistics. Like for instance, if we found some land today, we got it. We're gonna need to know how to farm on there. We're gonna need to know how to build on there. Or have the economics to hire somebody to do it. One or the other.
I already got that. I spent all last year volunteering, learning how to grow food and vegetables. I got one of my brothers. He grew up in a Moorish American household. He already know he's a Moor, but he ran the farm. That's out here. We got a brother that's from LA that came out here and started an organization called Tiger Mountain Foundation. We got a 20-acre farm out here on the south side of Phoenix. We got another small subset garden on the south side of Phoenix. And then another garden over there on the south side of Phoenix behind the school. Over in my neighborhood.
Oh wow. That's
bro, we got the soldiers, man. I'm telling you, if you go on my Instagram and you look, and people all the people that I'm taking pictures with, that's us at the garden. All our volunteers, our team. And we just bring everybody. We got the OGs coming from the hood, bro. Just everybody from around the neighborhood just coming together in unity. And then we also got people that's coming out from like colleges and doing the internship with us right there at the garden and learning, and everybody just vibing together and just coming together and just love and unity, bro.
That's beautiful.
I'm telling you, all we got to do is just connect and put what we know, who we know on the table.
Yeah,
man. That's beautiful. It's fine, brother. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well,
that sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good, actually. I wonder. We'll keep chipping away at that, trying to figure out how we could sit everybody down. And that you're dealing with on one little meeting or something, figure some things out. I know it's something similar like that in Compton that I'm just trying to wait for it to start raining out here to kind of go down there. And on the same type of tip you talking about out here in Compton, it's a little you can get you a couple plots of land and start testing your hand on growing. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's in harmony right there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll stay on it, man. To see if you can get them people together you was talking about, and get them on one meeting or something. Get them on the Zoom, and let's just talk some logistics or something.
Sure.
Yeah, man. But
well, I'm out, guys. I'm gonna say good night. I'm gonna say peace and love. Nice chatting with everyone. Happy Holy Day. And you guys enjoy yourself. Yes.
Happy Holy Day.
Yes. Same guys.
All right.
Happy Holy Day. Everybody have a beautiful night. And see y'all.
Hold on. I got a question for the Empress from New Orleans, right? 'Cause it's this person. It's my fam. Where you from down there, sis?
On the West Bank.
Where? Marrero?
Yeah.
Stop playing, man.
Oh, Islam.
We
where you
gonna
from?
have to chop. We ain't gonna do it right here. We gonna have to chop though. 'Cause I'm from the West Bank too.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
I think I was telling you that too. Remember I was telling you
Was you with the Eric?
yeah.
Well, who are you? Yes.
Oh, I'm telling you. Yeah, all right, we gonna leave that there. I just want you to know. So I just want to throw some names. We gonna leave that there.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh-huh. You can hear the accent. You can hear the accent. Uh-huh.
I told him hers is more heavier than his.
Yeah, you can hear the
Oh
accent.
Lord.
Yeah, she down there eating all that gumbo. That's why.
Leaving all that alone.
Eating that crawfish and all that. Yeah. It's all good though. Islam.
All right, Islam,
Family,
everybody.
you Islam.
Islam, everybody. Quick question, Mafi. So
See
is
y'all Sunday.
the meeting Sunday? Do you guys like have it on live as well, or is it just like an in-person meeting?
I was gonna be on Zoom too.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I'll see y'all Sunday at
All right. See y'all. Peace.
11 o'clock Cali time.
Okay,
Yeah,
Islam.
Okay. Perfect.
All right.
All right. See everybody.
Okay.